A third one is that you're not happy at work. See, spending Sunday evening thinking about dreading Monday morning, it's not natural, right? And this makes that problem chronic. So, it leaves you in a state where you feel less and less capable of, connecting with the joy, with the meaning, with the purpose in your professional work life. And a lot of people, their work may not be a huge source of joy to them, but it shouldn't make you feel miserable.
Your career is like a living, breathing organism, and building great careers requires nurturing them with strategic guidance. Hi, my name is Sawan Kapoor, and I'm India's leading career coach, also known as the Career Guy. Welcome to the Career Headquarters. Most comprehensive career podcast on the internet, where I will bring you groundbreaking insights on everything career related. Whether you're seeking a career abroad or wanting to switch industries, whether you are entry level or a mid-career professional or a senior leader, I have seen it all. As an award-winning CEO of one of the largest and most profitable beverage alcohol companies, my career spanned 3 continents, multiple industries, and provided me with an accelerated roadmap to the very top. So if you want to build an exceptional career and 3x your paycheck, this podcast is for you.
Welcome to today's episode of Career Headquarters, the most comprehensive career podcast. Hi, Sawan. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited for today.
What are we talking about?
Today, we're talking about navigating your midlife career crisis.
Oh, all right.
Big one.
This is a big one. Yes.
Yes. Okay. So research shows that many people, many professionals, even those with seemingly satisfying careers, they grow dissatisfied with their jobs around their mid-40s. They may regret previous choices made, or they may feel stuck in a rut. They experience sadness about the road not taken. So can you talk about this? Why does this happen?
See, breaking it down to a very fundamental level, we do anything to either avoid a pain or to gain a pleasure, right? So the problem here is that a lot of people land up selecting their careers without having done the personal reflection that is required before you make such a choice. You're going to spend the majority of your waking hours, at work. And a lot of people land up making this choice out of some form of pressure. So it could be parental pressure, it could be societal pressure, it could be peer pressure. See, we submit to forms of either collective authority or individual authority. So individual authority in our lives is, parents, a preacher or a teacher or a guru or, an individual figure that has some influence over us. And collective authority could come from, groups that we belong to, or, a type of thinking that we subscribe to. May it be political, or may it be social, or may it be, something else. So the point here is that, if you land up making a decision with regard to your career that you have not thought through, which is not aligned with who you are, you will land up in what is called a misaligned career. And this misaligned career is what leads to a midlife career crisis. So, at some point you will start questioning, is this really what I want? And by then you're 5, 7, or maybe even 10 years into your career.
Yes.
And, all of the responsibilities around you have become very real. So you then most likely have a family, you have children, you have financial obligations, and it leads to the feelings of regret and anxiety, right? Regret with regard to the decision that you made that didn't pan out for you, and anxiety with regard to the uncertainty of the future. And this regret and anxiety is what accelerates your, progress, if you will, towards that midlife career crisis. And that is where one starts to question: is this all there is, when it comes to my career? Am I just going to show up for this 9 to 5 every day, 5 or 6 days a week, and I'm going to live the same year over and over again 75 times, and I'm going to try and call it a life? So now, when this feeling comes up, there's two ways to take it. There is an empowered way to take it, and there is a disempowered way to take it. The empowered way is what will fuel you. That will be positive. And it will make you question and learn from your past, and then it will make you excited about what remains, what you can do to fix things, and how you can get back on track, and how you can accelerate your career from this point forward. Because the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and nobody can bring time back. But the second best time is today. The second way of taking it, which unfortunately is the majority of how people take it, is the empty way, the disempowering way. And that is negative, because then you start walking down this tunnel of despair, right? And you start thinking that this is something that is beyond me. I can't fix this. And that only leads to more inaction. And it can deepen that sense of depression. So, fundamentally the problem here is you're experiencing discontent in your career, and now you have weakened your mindset by not taking the empowered version of the story. You've taken the disempowering version of the story, and you've added an even bigger problem to the problem that you were experiencing.
Yes.
So thereby, you're now in a situation where you have a problem and you are even less prepared to be able to solve it. So this fundamentally is, the dynamics that operate when people experience a midlife career crisis.
All right. Okay. You worked with more than 20,000 working professionals. So, at least from the pool of professionals that you've worked with, what would you say is the percentage of people going through a midlife career crisis?
Well, I'd be hard pressed to come up with a percentage on the spot, but I would say it is the huge majority. The lion's share of people experience this. And unfortunately, this is because the formal system of education, it gives you subject matter expertise. And I don't want to take away from the value of education. It's a great door opener. When you learn about finance, or you learn about IT, or you learn about marketing or operations or sales, or, whatever field that you study, it allows you to develop a fundamental baseline to be able to participate meaningfully in that function or that industry. But a lot of people get into whatever field they choose because of the environment around them, or what is hot and trending at the moment. I mean, today, India is a formidable power when it comes to the IT industry, for example. Our IT industry in 2022 today stands at $150 billion strong. And, it can offer some amazing careers, but it's not for everyone.
Yes.
And there was a time where, every parent used to think that if my son or daughter is going to meet the Lord, that's going to be in the field of IT. So a lot of them forced their children, into IT, or at least exerted influence that they should develop a career in that field. It can offer great careers, but it's not for everyone. So.
All right. So you spoke about why a midlife career crisis happens. What are the signs of a person experiencing a midlife career crisis?
Not very different from sometimes the signs of what you experience in a lifestyle disease. First and foremost, I would say that it hits your motivation. Work that used to give you joy is now just this endless ocean of mundaneness. And you no longer are going to put up your hand to take on assignments or to take on work, because that fundamental drive within you is dying or has died. So it hits your identity and it hits your esteem. So that's one sign that people are going through a midlife career crisis. Another one is that your confidence takes a hit. You begin to doubt your professional ability. And I can tell you that, when this happens, it can hit your value perception. Not only in your perspective, but also in your employer's perspective. You begin to question what it is that you bring to the table. So that's a second sign where you're not confident enough to make the contributions that otherwise would flow through you. A third one is that you're not happy at work. See, spending Sunday evening thinking about dreading Monday morning, it's not natural, right? And this makes that problem chronic.
Yes.
So, it leaves you in a state where you feel less and less capable of, connecting with the joy, with the meaning, with the purpose in your professional work life. And a lot of people, their work may not be a huge source of joy to them, but it shouldn't make you feel miserable.
Yes.
And that's something that happens in a midlife career crisis. Another sign would be you begrudge the interactions that you're going to have with your colleagues or even with newcomers. Instead of your usual peppy and enthusiastic self, who would welcome these fresh faces or deal with colleagues in an upbeat manner, you now are hiding. You will put your head down and just get on with what you need to get on with in a very disconnected way. And this further worsens your professional reality. And it's, a symptom that is coming up and rearing its ugly head, that, you're not aligned with meaning and purpose in your professional life. Your attitude will take a hit, and your attitude is like a flat tire. If you don't fix it, you're not going anywhere. So it doesn't matter if the car is a Rolls Royce or a Mercedes or a Lamborghini or whatever fancy vehicle. If you don't have the right attitude, it's like a punctured tire. And I will say that, if you're not experiencing joy inside, it's going to bleed out into all of your interactions. And that doesn't stay quiet. That can very easily, be spotted. Because your attitude is what brings all of your hard skills to life. So your strengths, your capabilities, your talents, your the power of your experiences, your professional qualities, all of this comes to life through your attitude. Your attitude is how people are going to experience you, and it's foundational to building your reputation. So that's another clear sign that you're going through a professional midlife career crisis. And another one could be that you feel physically and emotionally exhausted.
Okay.
Because you're not tapping into your creativity, you're not tapping into your productivity, and with that, everything seems a burden. And with that kind of a mindset, it's very easy to feel emotional exhaustion because you don't want to do it. And if you're just existing in that kind of an environment, then it also leads to physical symptoms. So this is something that can actually show up in your physiology. So these would be, some signs of an individual experiencing a midlife career crisis.
Okay. And do you think there's a connection between this and quiet quitting?
Definitely, definitely. There's a huge connection between the two, and I feel quiet quitting is being talked about so much in the corporate world right now. Mental health and burnout is being experienced so much in the corporate world right now, and it's definitely a trend that we have seen post the pandemic. But I think the connection between these two is so deep because people were operating at what they thought was their edge. And in the pandemic, as the world went virtual and remote, I can tell you the hours behind the screen became even longer. And that just drove a lot of individuals over the edge, where somewhere fundamentally, internally, innately, they decided that they're just going to do the bare minimum to survive, so that nobody can point a finger at them openly, but their head and their heart is no longer engaged. They're not in the game anymore. So definitely it has a link with quiet quitting.
In an earlier episode, you were talking about three options that a person can choose if they don't like the life situation that they are in. Can you talk about these three options again? And also, how can one use this to mitigate a midlife career crisis?
Well, that's exactly what these options present. So I call this the principle of dynamic acceptance. And whenever you're faced with a difficult situation in life, fundamentally these are the three options that you have. So when you're faced with a difficult situation, if you cannot change it, you have to accept it. That's the first option. So accept what you cannot change. The second option is to change the changeable. If you can change it, then go talk about the issue, get it addressed, and change it. I'm not saying if you're faced with a difficult situation at work, you should quit your job. If you have the opportunity to address the problem that you're experiencing, then certainly approach your supervisor or your supervisor's supervisor and address the situation in a holistic manner. That's the second option. The third option is to remove yourself from what is not acceptable to you. So if the system is not going to listen, or it's not going to be able to accommodate what it is that you desire, then you don't have a choice but to remove yourself from it. But in that case, you should play the game smartly. See, challenge shows up in your life to teach you something. And a lot of people run away from challenge. When you run away from challenge, then you're not choosing to learn from it. Failure has tremendous strategic value. So if you go to the gym and you lift weights, it's at that last 15 seconds when your muscles are refusing to lift the weight, that is when they are growing. So you have to fall in love with that last 15 seconds. And a lot of people don't do that. The point I was making was play the game smartly. Endure that challenge from a perspective of being able to truly learn from it, because this is what increases your capacity to be able to reinvent yourself. And that reinvented self is what you're going to require to solve ever increasing complexity, the next set of challenges that are going to show up in your life. So, if you talk about the root cause that leads to a midlife crisis, see, there are 6 stages to a complete career, right? So you have the aspiration stage, the promise stage, the momentum stage, the harvest stage, the encore stage, and the legacy stage. Now, there are different traps associated with each stage. And I was talking about misaligned careers earlier. These misaligned careers typically happen in the first 3 stages. Starting out in the very first stage, the first stage is the aspiration stage, and that is where, if you have not learned sufficiently about yourself, this is when you're coming out of college, you're about to take a job, right? If you have not done the introspection required to know that the career choice that you're making is fundamentally aligned with who you are, then you will end up taking a job for the sake of taking a job, or for the sake of having a career, or out of some form of pressure, and that's where you'll get misaligned. and then that only compounds, because the next stage is the promise stage, which is where somebody's taking a chance on you based in the promise of your potential. And again, you will manage that that promise stage as well in a very mediocre way, which may then lead to the momentum stage. And your progress will become more burdensome. That is, if you clear the stages. A stage doesn't let you go to the next one till you learn what it has to teach you. And that third stage is the momentum stage. Now, that is a make or break stage. The best way to describe that stage is, here is where solid opportunities will, or solid work will lead to solid opportunities. And a lot of people end their career in this stage. A lot of people are not able to move past that stage. But if you can get past these three stages, if you play the game right, then the chances that you will be misaligned fall drastically. So the point really to take away from this is to understand what your highest priorities are. You need to look within to understand what your highest priorities are. And I can tell you, there is no one correct set of priorities. There are people who are dedicated to their career. There are people who are dedicated to building a business. There are people who are dedicated to their health and their fitness. There are people who are dedicated to family and relationships. So there's no one correct set of values. But it's very important to know what your values are. And I use the word values as a synonym for your priorities. This is what you want to import into your life to have much more influence and control over. So, see, the what happens is, in situations of misalignment, is that you have injected someone else's priorities into your life because of that societal pressure or parental pressure or peer pressure. You've injected what they consider will lead to a great career into your own life. And the problem with that is that that is not truly you. It's like asking a cat to behave like a fish. And the cat will have a nervous breakdown, because it can't swim in that manner. So there are two ways to live your life. You can either live it by design, or you can live it by default. And if you live it by design, then you will turn into a leader. But if you live it by default, you'll turn into a follower. Now, living your life as a follower takes no effort. You're part of the crowd. But living your life as a leader takes stamina and concentration and focus and dedication and all of these things. So when you inject someone else's values, that's not going to be sustainable. But this is how people around you express their care and concern. They feel that if you live your life and make the career choice according to them, then you will have a more fulfilling experience. But we've learned now that that doesn't bring you closer to that person. It causes more disturbance in the relationship. So instead of having a positive impact, it lands up having a negative impact. When you are aligned and congruent with what is most important to you, your highest priorities, then you grow your leadership capacity. You will build momentum, and you will radiate outwards. You will develop that capacity to tap into your mastery. And the world around you is going to be a reflection of the world inside you. So when you are aligned and congruent with your highest priorities, then the world around you will also start coming into order, because fundamentally inside, you're feeling that sense of order, that sense of purpose and passion. Otherwise, what happens is that you will begin to experience symptoms. And these symptoms of discontentment will show up in every area of your life. They'll show up in your relationships. They'll show up in your work. They'll show up in your business. They'll show up in your physiology. Being aligned and congruent is what leads to inner peace. It leads to the opportunity to work on, your mastery. It awakens that path. That is why these early stages of the career are so critical. And fundamentally, the formal system of education is not addressing this. It's giving you hard skills and domain expertise, but it's not fundamentally addressing the uniqueness of who you are and the kind of career choice that you need to make that you will be able to sustain, enjoy, and grow in. So that's why these early stages become so important, because, when you're working in something that you're so passionate and aligned about, you don't need external motivation. It's like a child playing video games. When a child is playing video games, that's a means to an end. The child wants to have fun, and nobody needs to encourage the child to play video games. They can be stuck with that screen for 6-8 hours. In fact, the parents have to say, stop now, no more screen time. So Mahatma Gandhi said it really right, that when you enjoy what you do, it doesn't feel like work. So motivation is actually a symptom. It's a symptom that you're not being authentic to who you really are. And motivation is also like a drug. It's like, heroin. You need a bigger dose every time to sustain that same momentum. So it's not a very prudent way of building excellence in any area of your life. So, these symptoms will come up, and those symptoms are an immediate reveal that you have not done the introspection required to make an appropriate career choice.
Very well put. Sawan, does a midlife career, actually a midlife crisis, pertain only to one's career, or does it have anything to do with other areas of your life as well?
This can happen in any area, any of the major areas of your life. So you have, a financial reality, you have a career reality, you have a personal reality, you have a health reality, you have relationships reality, you have your own growth, and you have a legacy that you're wanting to build. So fundamentally, as I stated earlier, it's coming from a place of regret or anxiety. So if you have not made progress to the degree that you want, then you start to feel that burden. And that happens because you're comparing yourself to others, and that comparison is becoming the thief of your joy and your peace. So if you've not been able to make that progress, and you're looking at the world around you, and your peers or your friends or people in your network are zooming past you, then it can give rise to that regret and anxiety, which then leads to a crisis in any of these areas in your career.
All right. So you were talking about how a majority of professionals land up in misaligned careers. So once they find themselves in a misaligned career, or they understand that they're going through a midlife crisis, how can they fix it? How can they correct it once they realize that that's where they are?
Well, you see, I always say that the road to career development is paved with personal development. So there are two sides to this answer. One is your personal alignment. One is your own personal development. The challenges that you have been experiencing in your work life may be happening because of something that you are not doing or doing in the wrong way, right? And the second side is that you're not using the right career strategies to be able to build your career with strategic intent. So it could happen because of any of these two areas. That said, the short answer to fix it is to work with somebody who has walked this journey before, who understands the traps, the dynamics that will present themselves in such a situation. Because these situations become a downward spiral. And they play such havoc in your mind that it becomes very difficult to be able to come out of these situations without the right assistance. See, fundamentally, on the personal side, a career coach is going to look at you through these different perspectives. Now, there is aspects of yourself that you know, and the world also knows those aspects of you. That is your open self. So that is what you project to the world, right? Then there is aspects of you that you don't know, but the world can see. Okay, so that is your blind self, right? That is what you are unaware of, but it's being picked up by others. Then there are aspects of you that you know, but the world doesn't know. That's your hidden self. That is what you don't want to reveal to the world. And then there are aspects of you that neither do you know, nor does the world know. That's your unknown self. Now, when a career coach will work with you, they'll work on the personal development side across all of these areas. So, when it comes to your hidden self, which is, aspects that you know, but you don't want to reveal to the world, those are areas where you will need to process your emotions, your repressed memories, if you've been through any kind of trauma, where you were subject to a situation that you did not have the tools to be able to deal with at that time. So they're going to help you work through all of that. These are the limiting beliefs that you may have formed in how you look at the world around you. So in addition to your hidden self, they're also going to work on your blind self. And your blind self is, aspects that you don't know about yourself, but the world is picking up on these behaviors and these things. So you have to have in your awareness that you're capable of acting in a way that fundamentally at the moment you're not recognizing. This is the value of feedback to leaders, right? And feedback is the number one tool that allows you to reinvent yourself for the next set of complexities and challenges that your life is going to throw at you. Because otherwise what happens is you are arguing with your reality. And you can't argue with your reality because you will lose 100% of the time. And then they will also help you work on your unknown self. So these are aspects of you that you don't recognize and the world doesn't recognize. And I can tell you that there are good aspects of yourself that you don't recognize and the world doesn't see. And there's also bad aspects of you. So these positive and negative potentials is what they are going to help you understand in what you need to enhance and what you need to watch out for. This is what helps you prepare that roadmap towards leadership. All right. And the journey is not an easy journey. That's why, not everybody turns into a leader, but a leader can come from anywhere. So, on the personal development side, these are the things that they will help you with. And on the career development side, on the career strategy side, they'll give you the tips, the tricks, the shortcuts in how hiring is being done today, how to present yourself as a much more compelling candidate, right? Because companies relate with you for their needs, their problems and their opportunities, not for your issues or your greatness. Your greatness means nothing to them. They want to understand how your greatness can help them solve their problems and opportunities. Another area would be, they help you uncover the culture of a company before you take the decision to join that organization. So I'm just giving you a couple examples here of the kind of things on the career strategy side that a career coach could help you with. The fastest way to get there is to work with somebody who has the experience and has earned the right in your eyes and knows how to deliver for impact, knows how to get through to you because of the substance that they possess in having done the R&D and walked that journey by themselves.
All right. We're almost at the end of the episode now. So if someone listening to us or watching us wants to understand how to work with you, they recognize that they're in a misaligned career or they understand that they're going through a midlife crisis and they want to work with you, what can they do?
The best way would be to, just come to our masterclass. And if you reach out to us on LinkedIn or if you reach out to us on, Instagram or Facebook or any of these platforms, the link to the masterclass is posted nearly in every single post of our social media. attend with an open mind, because understand this is a framework that is going to help you create tremendous acceleration in a very short period of time, thereby increasing the slope of the trajectory that you're going to experience in your career sustainably. So come, take a look at the masterclass. It's a 4.5 hour session, and I only do this session live, and it's going to throw a lot of light on you looking at the job market in a fundamentally very different way, right? So that would be the best way to start.
All right. We'll put the link in the description as well.
Great.
Okay. So, if a professional is going through a midlife career crisis, how can they understand if it's a signal to change course, change careers, or simply to change the way one thinks and feels?
One usually leads to the other. So when you feel discontent because you're in a midlife career crisis, you begin to question, what it is that you really should be doing. And that is where you start examining choices with more forethought. You look within yourself. You do that deeper introspection to understand why you get out of bed each day, why, what holds meaning for you. And that may lead to wanting to make a switch in your career, in your function or in your industry. And there really has to be a method to switching. Because a lot of people are switching and running away from one problem and then entering a space where they don't have the experience, and it's a brand new space, and now they've entered an even bigger problem. So the chances of success are even lower than where you had experience. So there really has to be a plan to switching. Now, see, the issue here is that you have to recognize that you're a unique individual, and you need to be aligned with what it is that you are truly meant to do, because you have a gift. And when I say gift, I'm not talking about your education, and I'm not talking about what happened in your misaligned career. You don't have to start at the bottom in a new field. There are ways to identify your transferable skills and use custom strategies to enter without any loss of pace in a new field or a new function or a new industry. That said, that is what takes the right kind of coaching and the right kind of planning. So fundamentally, you have to discover your gift, and understanding how to go about that process, not experimenting with that process, is what will save you years. So if you can identify your gift, your purpose, define goals, the milestone markers of how you want to make progress across that journey, through that journey, and then define a practical process that can help you get there, is what the need of the hour is. Now, I can tell you, in addition to that, you also have to recheck that the process that you're following as you walk that journey is aligned with the what will deliver the outcome. It has to be practical to be able to deliver the outcome. And you only come to understand that it is a practical process if you're working with someone who knows how to do it in the most efficient way possible.
Right.
Because one of the biggest blockages that you will find on this journey, one of the biggest roadblocks that you will encounter, is your own identity. And because your own identity has some existing beliefs, right? If your existing beliefs don't allow you to follow the process that will lead to the outcomes that you want to experience, then your existing identity will not let you make that progress, right? So if you want to lose weight, you have to diet and you have to exercise, right? But if your existing identity, is prioritizing sitting in front of the television and watching Netflix and Amazon Prime, then you're not going to do the hard work in the gym, and you're not going to do, the sacrifice that is required in your eating choices to be able to get to the outcome of losing weight. And that goes back to your habits, because there are no high performance people, there are only high performance habits. Now, I can tell you, this thought of aligning outcomes with process, with your identity, it comes from Atomic Habits, the wonderful book that James Clear wrote. And I read the book, but I can tell you, I felt that the model was incomplete. And the reason I felt it was incomplete is because it makes you fundamentally believe that you can apply this to any area and find success. So it does not take into account the uniqueness of who you are and that gift that you have been bestowed with, right? So if you don't put in the priorities that you're to discover by looking inside yourself, then this process is not going to yield results for you. It has to be aligned with your gift and purpose for this process to accelerate how you will be able to develop the identity that lets you follow the process to be able to get to your outcomes. So this personal alignment is going to be very critical, and that is where we work in a very practical way to help an individual achieve this on the personal development side, and then layer and build the right career strategies onto that foundation so that they can manifest and they can realize the career aspirations that they have. Because there is a gap between the career that you want to build or the life that you want to build and the work that you're willing to put in. And people usually give themselves the benefit of the doubt. They don't recognize this gap at all, right? They want that to be a possibility for them, and they don't recognize that it's going to take hard work to make that possible. Because achieving all of these things is going to be more like a marathon and not like a sprint. Now, the manner in which we take somebody through it is what allows them to go deeper much faster, because you're doing it in a systematic way. You're not having to experiment. So, achieving that career shift to where you're experiencing the meaning, where you have a much more significant financial remuneration and you have a superior work-life balance, being able to do it in a 90-day period, I feel is a very accelerated process. But again, the system will only work if you work the system. So, and that is where you're going to need guidance, because otherwise a lot of people land up wasting years. Some land up wasting decades, in experimenting, because you've been running your career with your own intelligence, and something was not right. You were facing discontent somewhere. Maybe in your salary, maybe in, your rewards and recognition, maybe in your work-life balance, maybe in, the professional connect that you have with your responsibilities. So, somewhere there was a problem, and that is what is forcing that individual even to watch this podcast, right? So when you work with somebody who has done that successfully before, is where you accelerate your ability to be able to recognize that these are the traps and the challenges that are going to come up, and be pre-prepared to be able to tackle them in a very efficient way, may it be on the personal development side or on the career strategy side.
Wow, I'm just taking it all in. Thank you. That was an extremely valuable episode. Thank you so much. See you in the next one.
See you in the next one.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Career Headquarters, the most comprehensive career podcast dedicated to building exceptional careers. If you enjoyed this conversation, please share this with someone you think would benefit from the ideas and the insights shared on this episode. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on Spotify, Apple, Google, Overcast, Castro, or Breaker. If you want to learn more about building an extraordinary career for yourself,